What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nintendo Land. I also real quick want to get out a quick disclaimer. I am still getting over a cold. I seen some people from the last video thought that I was just defeated that Switch 2 wasn't announced yet. No, I swear I'm okay. I'm just still getting over a cold. So if my voice sounds deeper and more mysterious, you know why. I'm sorry, that was weird. Anyways, Nintendo, they've released some information about Switch 2, which is super exciting. They finally give us our first breadcrumb of anything for Switch 2. I mean, we don't know anything about the console until now, where Nintendo actually had come out thanks to their investors meeting and stated that the Switch successor will be backwards compatible with the Nintendo Switch. But we're going to get into all that. There's tons of other information as well, thanks to the Q&A with the investors. But before we continue, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Over 100 of you guys subscribed yesterday, just yesterday alone. Let's see how many we can get from this video. Let's beat 100. Let's go to like 130 today. Let's see how many we can do it, because if you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed, you're going to want to be here when Switch 2 news starts pouring out of the woodwork, which it feels like it's going to eventually, you know, at some time. It will, I hope. Okay, enough. Let's jump into the video. Alright, so Nintendo of Japan actually tweets, and once again starts off with that mysterious, "This is Furukawa." Like it gets your attention, you know? But he says, "At today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor to Nintendo Switch as well. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date." I mean, this is absolutely nothing mind-blowing. I never would have imagined Nintendo would not have Switch 2 be backwards compatible with Switch 1. With all of these games coming out in the last 8 years, bringing games from the Wii U, the Wii, the GameCube, and even earlier in the era, just remakes and remasters and ports. I mean, every Nintendo game, almost every Nintendo game, feels like it's on Nintendo Switch right now, with a few missing. But at the end of the day, it looks like Nintendo is really trying to make the Switch line of consoles the ultimate platform for Nintendo, where you can play any game on these platforms. So it would have blew my mind if Nintendo just was releasing all these games, especially this holiday season, with Mario Party and Mario and Luigi and Echoes of Wisdom, and then they said, okay, in a couple months in the following year, you're not going to be able to play these games. It would just be so tragically bad. But yeah, this is awesome, and we can expect all the Switch Online stuff to transfer over to the Switch 2 as well. That includes like all the classic consoles where you can play those games and stuff, and all the extra accessories, which is fine. I don't think people really have a problem with that. I think most people's issues really boil down to like the eShop and stuff, so that probably will get a change and an update with the next console. But yes, backwards compatibility and also Switch Online is staying. But with all of that said as well, I've seen some people already put on Twitter, thankfully that means we're probably not going to be getting deluxe versions of older games, which makes me so happy. Because man, Smash Ultimate is already technically a deluxe version of Smash, bringing back all past characters and stages and stuff like that. Another one would just be like, oh my gosh, can we just move on to the next Smash Brothers? And Mario Kart 8 for sure, with it having a deluxe version and also tons of DLC. Let's just move on to the next Mario Kart. Now, thanks to this information from Nintendo themselves, yes, finally getting word from the mouth of Nintendo, we know that Switch Online is going to be a thing for Switch 2, but it goes deeper now because of this. A data miner on social media platform Blue Sky has discovered that the latest version of the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program has added support for both mesh shaders and 4K resolution. This discovery has inevitably led to speculation about the next console for Nintendo, which is set to be revealed sometime this financial year, which ends 31st of March 2025. And it means we could be getting some gameplay in 4K, which has been a rumor for a long time that the dock was going to enable 4K capabilities for specific games, which is a big deal. Look, personally, I don't care about 4K as much, and I'm definitely not going to care about it with Nintendo games if I don't with my other consoles so far. But I just want 1080 60 FPS, you know what I mean? I want a smooth 60 frames. I don't want any stuttering, any slowdown with games that are coming out. I want to actually be able to play games at 60 frames and it look good. That's all I want, and that should be well easily attainable with this next console. It does make me wonder if any of these games that have already come out are going to have, you know, updated versions on the Switch 2, meaning like maybe you can upgrade all these games, or maybe for like $5 each, or maybe there's not even a price tag. Maybe you can just, you know, play these old games on Switch 2 and it has better frame rates and it has better graphics, and that would give us even more of a reason to buy older games or to just play our older games on this new console, which would would be really cool. Something else that's also incredibly strange is that Nintendo's president claims that he doesn't believe that the presence of Switch 2 will have much impact on Switch Christmas sales. And if that's the case, why didn't they announce Switch 2 any of these months this year? Also, with the fact of them announcing that it will be backwards compatible, it actually really is strange that they wouldn't have just announced the Switch 2 before jumping into the holiday season. At least, you know, you could buy a regular Switch deal. If you want to wait for this Super Switch or Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be, you can do that, but you can play these games on either of them. So it wouldn't have been really hurting software sales at all. Maybe a little bit for current Switch 1 hardware, but apparently, according to Nintendo, it doesn't matter. But we also have an investors meeting Q&A to talk about. This was done via Google Translate because it was all in Japanese, so bear with me here. But it says, during today's presentation, it was explained that the successor to the Nintendo Switch will be able to play Nintendo Switch software and continue to have access to Nintendo Switch online. Given that, I think that for customers who are already playing Nintendo Switch, the motivation to purchase new hardware immediately after the release of the successor model will be weaker. I would like to ask how you plan to convey the unique appeal of the successor to the Nintendo Switch to customers in the future. And Nintendo responds, we explain that Nintendo Switch's successor model will also allow users to play Nintendo Switch software. Nintendo Switch has been adopted and enjoyed by so many people, and we have determined that it would be best to allow customers to play their Nintendo Switch software on the successor model. This will allow customers to continue enjoying the games they have purchased and also allow them to choose the next title that they want to play from the extensive lineup of games released for Nintendo Switch. We will provide more detailed information about the successor model, including compatibility with Nintendo Switch at a later date. As a company that provides integrated hardware and software entertainment as before, we will continue to support our customers in a variety of ways. We would like to convey the appeal of this place. So nothing really new there, but for question 2, the investors ask, increasing development costs are becoming a problem in the game industry. How does Nintendo view this situation? Also, will Nintendo's research and development costs continue to increase in the future? If there are any way to curb the increase in development costs by taking some kind of measures on this hardware side? Shigeru Miyamoto then answers, Nintendo's research and development costs are increasing every year. As the scale of development is actually expanding, I think it is inevitable that costs will increase accordingly. We believe that what we create is more important than the size of development costs. We create products until we are convinced that we have created something that satisfies our customers. What is important after that is to find a theme that is worth refining. And this has not changed since the days of the family computer. Since each person has their own preferences, it is difficult to say what is worth refining. But there is no doubt that something that has never existed before is worth refining. The more we refine something that has never existed before, the more value we create. We aim to promote this uniqueness of Nintendo. I think it is important to train developers who are passionate about games and, if necessary, spend development costs to polish the game until it is satisfactory, and then repeat this process. On the other hand, in the entertainment business, for example in toys, it is possible to create attractive products without spending money, relying on the fun of the idea. There is no need to spend money on all products and even in games. So Nintendo pretty much just saying, look, development costs are just going to go up. It's the nature of things, and that they have no problem spending more money to make sure that their games are more polished and more refined and more tuned out. And that's just Nintendo being awesome. You know, at the end of the day, they're going to spend the money that they need to make sure that their games are top notch. And that's why they still, in my opinion, stand out amongst all the other companies in the industry. They are not afraid to spend the penny in order to make sure that their games are going to get that long run, and it helps in the long run anyways, because when games are as polished as Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, they're going to get better reviews, they're going to sell more copies, and they're just going to go down in history as better games overall. This answer continues to go on from Nintendo and states, with the right technology, it is possible to create an interesting game with a small number of developers in a short development period. I think it is important not to lose sight of this idea. Then Takahashi jumps in and says, we do not spend a lot of money on developing all games, but by expanding on the ideas of a small number of developers, we can create unique software that is worth polishing even on a small scale. Although overall research and development costs are increasing, there are some games whose development costs will not change significantly from before depending on how they are made. In addition, development software and development environments have evolved significantly since before the Nintendo Switch, and various methods have been created to reduce costs. Using these methods, Nintendo's unique producers have been able to create software. And then finally, we have Ko Shioto say, from the perspective of hardware and systems, we believe it is important to provide a development environment that allows developers to efficiently advance game development. As was explained in today's presentation, Nintendo Switch combines the two platforms, home console and handheld, and also combines the software development environments that were previously separate from home console and handheld. We believe that keeping the development environment that developers have become accustomed to through the development of Nintendo Switch fundamentally unchanged and allowing developers to carry over their development experience to date will lead to future reductions in research and development costs. Also, I think that the most important thing for Nintendo is how to generate new ideas. Great ideas do not come about just by spending development costs. So we will continue to focus on the process in which developers on both the hardware and software teams share ideas to create interesting products. Once again, Nintendo just saying, lots of the time it's not even about money for development costs, it's just about ideas, because Nintendo is more creative than other companies. You know, it's all about creative ideas, creative mindsets for software and even their hardware. So it's not always about spending an extra dollar to make something work. Question 3, it states, recently we started distributing the app Nintendo Music available to Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and I think that even customers who don't play games often have an incentive to join Nintendo Switch Online. Nintendo Switch Online has been positioned as a service to keep customers playing Nintendo Switch for a long time, but will it become a service like Nintendo Music that allows even customers who don't have a dedicated game console to have a connection with Nintendo IP in the future? Please tell us the direction Nintendo Switch Online is aiming for. And Furukawa states, Nintendo Switch Online is a service designed to enable customers who purchase Nintendo Switch to enjoy the system even more, and its fundamental purpose remains unchanged. Nintendo Music is a music distribution app that allows Nintendo Switch Online subscribers to listen to Nintendo game music on their smart devices. Game music is one of the most important contents that we own, and we believe that it is in line with our basic strategy of expanding the number of people who have access to Nintendo IP. We have started offering Nintendo Music as a service to deliver this game music to customers in a way that is unique to Nintendo. Go on to say, we believe that if Nintendo Music can help consumers reminisce about the memories they had playing our games, it will encourage them to pick up our games again. Ultimately, we hope that Nintendo Music will be one of the reasons that keep consumers subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online. So Nintendo is pretty much just saying, yeah, Nintendo Switch Music was a little thing for the fans, but also another way for them to make money, of course. They hope that people listen to this music, get filled with nostalgia, and play their games again, or maybe just say stay subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online so that way they can keep listening to this music. But either way, they're getting paid from branching alternatives from this music. Just more reasons for people to be addicted to Nintendo. You know, you got your movies, your games, and now your music. Then we move on to the last question with question 4, saying, in a media article about the Nintendo Museum, I read that Miyamoto-san gives a lecture to new employees every year. What exactly does that lecture consist of? Also, please tell me about your succession plan in terms of creativity. From the outside, it seems that Miyamoto-san is a genius, which is why he continues to create hits. I think it is difficult to convey the essence of game development, so what kind of methods do you use to achieve this? I would like to know whether the essence of Miyamoto-san's creative thinking is being successfully passed down within the company. Miyamoto responds, use the word genius in your question, but after my annual lectures for about 100 to 200 new employees and mid-career employees, I often hear comments like, I wondered what kind of person Miyamoto was, but I was relieved to find out that he was surprisingly normal. So I think I'm a pretty normal person. I think it would be more fun if I didn't have to work, so if I do work, I think about how to do it efficiently as possible. And if I'm doing the same job, it's easier to make the next job if it's a hit, so I always think about how to make it even more of a hit. In my annual lectures, I often think about these kind of creative worries. The lecture is divided into 3 parts. The first part will talk about the history of Nintendo, which started with Hanafuda cards, passed through toys, and is now an entertainment company. In the second part, we will talk about what Nintendo has valued in game development and what its strengths are. For example, we will explain the evolution of interfaces since the days of arcade games, tracing the evolution of controllers. In the third part, we will talk about what game design is. Many new developers who play a lot of games want to create a more luxurious version of the games they've played before, but instead, Game design is about assembling what would be interesting to make into a video game from various things around you. At the same time, we will explain that game design is about designing, such as thinking about what hardware and development environment you will use to create the game, considering the processing power and whether you can really create what you want to create, and then going through trial and error to make it happen. When they hear this, many people say that they are amused, saying this is different from the game design I had in mind, or that they empathize with the way of thinking about craftsmanship. The lectures are about 2 hours long every year, so I think it would be useful for employees to visit the Nintendo Museum to look at the history of past challenges so that they can remember the contents of those lectures later. So yeah, Miyamoto gives yearly lectures about game design and talks about, it's not important to look at what everybody else is doing and trying to recreate a game but in a better way, but trying to make new experiences based on what's around you in your environment and trying to come up with something original and unique. And once again, that's Nintendo's model all the time. It's trying to create something that's never been done before, not taking something that already exists and making it better, instead giving players and users new experiences. But Takahashi comes in and states, at Nintendo, the producers who develop various video games create unique games while making use of their own characteristics. I think that each producer listens to various stories from Miyamoto and works on games together, thinking about how to apply his ideas to their own field of expertise. Therefore, based on Miyamoto's ideas, each producer creates a unique game while chewing over his open words and ideas, and these are passed on to the people who work with the producers in the same way. And I lied, there's one more short question with question 5 stating, when developing new hardware, I think it's very important to create something unique like Nintendo. On the other hand, I think if the hardware is too unique, it can be difficult for software publishers to develop software for it. I would like to know how you are conscious of the balance between uniqueness and ease of software development when developing hardware. Nintendo then answers, the unique functions and features of our hardware are not created solely by hardware developers. Instead, we work together with the software developers team to think about how we can deliver a unique entertainment experience. Of course, we also take into consideration the software publishers play. In the development process, we create various prototypes to check the feel, and we polish up the ones that we think are good. We value this flow, but in recent years, the importance of not only hardware and software, but also the system software that runs them has increased. So we develop as one team, including system software developers. We have always valued spreading unique things to the world, so we would like to continue creating products that are unique to Nintendo, carefully considering the balance between uniqueness and ease of software development. So Nintendo pretty much is saying, yeah, they'll continue to balance the two, but mostly they're going to go for creativity on their own end before worrying about third-party developers and how their games would work on Nintendo Switch. They're going to focus on their first-party games first, and that's the most important thing, because Nintendo's first-party lineups are too massive to just put to the side and try to balance equally. You're going to want to make sure most of your attention is on the first-party games and your creativity with your consoles and software first, and that's exactly what Nintendo said. And that is all the brand new Nintendo Switch 2 news and information about the investors meeting. Definitely some new information and some exciting stuff too, both Switch 2 and not even Switch 2 related. But let me know what you thought about these Q&A sessions at the investors meeting. And also let me know, how excited are you for Mario and Luigi Brothership tomorrow? It's the last big title before we end the year, and probably the one I'm looking forward to the most out of everything that's released this year. So I'm super duper excited. Of course, we'll be covering information on that. So make sure you're subscribed to stay up to date on all things Mario and Luigi and Nintendo in general. But thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.